Okay, my name is Charles Mason, and at the time of Gwynn Oak Park, I was one of the organizers for the Congress on Racial Equality, known as CORE. We'd been working on Gwynn Oak Park for some years, and for a small park in the city, it seemed like an impossible task, but through the legal maneuvers and negotiations and which didn't get very far, it appeared that there had to be something to emphasize the importance of the park staying segregated. So the park was a drop-off point on the trolleys that ran through West Baltimore and to the park. That was one of the attractions it appeared to be of the park. And after working for some time with negotiations and talks, it appeared that the only thing to do would be direct action to force the integration of the park. And as I look back, there were integration on the picket lines, there was integration at other parts of the city, but for some reason the social aspect of it really bothered people who wanted to keep it segregated. I was working with the Congress on Racial Equality because I found that this was a concentrated effort that would do more good. I had been bothered by segregation most of my life because I grew up near Johns Hopkins Hospital, which was one area, the street I lived on, I could live on this street. At the corner, it stopped. I couldn't live on Broadway, which was 10 feet from my house. And all of these things bothered me. As a child, I was sick. I was sick quite a bit. Excuse me. So I spent most of my time at the library on Broadway, which was branch number 5. So I was aware of all of the social evils. I was aware of all of the revolutions. And in my mind, I was putting the revolutions with what could be done here. Now, this was way before I became a part of the civil rights movement. And at the point of Gwynn Oak Park, I really didn't think that that little small park and the actions that happened at the park, that we would be here 57 years later talking about it, and that the impact it had on the city and far-reaching because of the media. But I'm glad to have been a part of it, and I see where that impacted lots of things around it, connected in all ways, economic, social, and what have you. I see great changes in society, but I see some changes that really bother me because it goes back to exactly what we were fighting against then. Yesterday, which was Sunday, I went to a restroom and there was graffiti and swastikas painted on the restroom walls. This is in Baltimore County. So things have changed, but things are still a lot of ways the same. There is a lot of work that needs to be done, and I'm not quite certain, but I'm also certain that people will come up with solutions to it as we did back in the way times of 1963. And the day of that Gwynn Oak Park was integrated, I could not be there because we had also been working on the March on Washington. And I was in Washington, D.C., listening to Dr. King's speech. So it was a victory, even though I wasn't there, and I was happy to have met the young lady who was the first African-American child to ride on the merry-go-round, Miss Langley. And I also would like to just give a moment of silence for our brothers that are not here. They were with us. Mr. Burley, Mr. Crockett, Bill Moore, and the names are, there are too many to mention right now. But I am glad to have been a part of that, to have been that little bit trying to make the world a better place for your children and my children of all colors. Okay, what I remember most about Gwynn Oak Park at this point is that the enormous crowds and the energy that was flowing through the crowds. And on one side you had goodwill, and on the other side you had malice. And it was all seeming to come to a point, and I didn't realize which way it was going to go at one point because I was injured at that point. And it has a lasting effect. I still remember that to today. So my main thing is to see that other folks understand that evil only begets evil, and we should do something to try to make the world a better place.